Hey everybody, what's going on? I was asked to do a lunch and learn based around content creation, creating things that you could utilize later after you've done a data project or a web dev project or something like that. Really any project at all. Building a fence. I mean, this could apply to anything. So that's what she asked me to do this lunch and learn on. So I hope that I deliver. I don't know if any of this will be particularly mind-blowing, but I certainly hope that you guys get some value from it. I spent probably more time on it than I possibly should have. So, moving forward. Here's what we're going to cover. We're going to do a discussion outline, topics to be covered. We're going to do a quick introduction, talk about why this matters. Then we're going to talk about content type, written, video, and audio content, some final thoughts, and then we're going to do a Q&A. Along with that Q&A, I'll also be doing a screen share of some additional resources for y'all to check out if one of the particular content types is something that you're really jiving with, or if all of them are, just kind of things to be aware of. Also, this slide deck will be shared with everyone, and it should link to everything potentially that I'll be sharing, except for some of those additional resources. So I would definitely say make notes if something is piqued your interest. Yeah. So right off the top, the entire point of this message is code, create, repeat. That is something that I want y'all to do as often as you can. Code, create, repeat. Do a project, kick ass at that project, and then create something around that project. If it's just an image, or if it's a deck like this, or if it's a video, or it's audio, I don't really care. If it's a written article, I don't really care what it is, but you really should and have to do it. And we'll talk about why in just a second. But this is kind of the thing I want you to be thinking about throughout the entirety of this kind of presentation and just kind of moving forward. Code, create, repeat. So introductions, I am Chase Thompson, part of the greatest Code Up cohort of all time, the Curie cohort. You can see lovely Mary Curie right there on the side. And I've been creating content for the web, for both digital as well as print, media, just all of that kind of stuff for many, many, many years, 13 years going on right now. I thought it was 15. And then my wife, she kind of like time checked me and I was like, I mean, I really was doing it those other two, but like, whatever. So I've been doing this for a very long time, my entire professional career, basically. So a lot of what I'll be talking about kind of stems from that whole timeline. So if I'm talking super fast or you have a question about something in particular, just chime in and definitely write it down if you want to ask it during the Q&A at the end. I should be able to answer most of it. And if I can't, I probably will be able to direct you to a place that you can go get that answer. Why create content? This is three kind of the top reasons, but really there are hundreds of reasons why you should create content. Obviously, it increases attention on you, which at this point, depending on where you're at in your data science, web development career, that could be really daunting, right? Like, I don't want people looking at me. I don't want them looking at my projects. I'm not interested in that right now. And like it says right there, don't worry, you're not going to be hitting the front page of the New York Times, or, well, it should say Times. I got to put an S on that, or the front page of YouTube anytime soon. You've got to put in the reps and you've got to put yourself out there. But that increased attention over for things like over on LinkedIn, where you're trying to kind of start your career, jumpstart your career, accelerate your career if you're already kind of in that path, which, by the way, congratulations. This is a huge, huge, huge piece of what this can do for you. Accessibility is another huge piece. We'll be talking a little bit later about some content I made for y'all in addition to this deck, in addition to content on how to make that content, which I made for y'all. It gets gnarly here in a couple of minutes. But accessibility. It's too easy nowadays to make content, whether it's audio content, video content, written content, photos, decks. I mean, it's bonkers how easy it is nowadays to be able to create these things, regardless of your skill set, regardless of the equipment and gear that you have. So to me, that's another main reason you need to be doing it. And lastly, it will make you better. Just straight up, if you want to master something, teach it. Richard Feynman, I know that Ryan Orsinger is a huge fan of quotes, so there is one for you. I'm sure you already have one for the day, but there's a really great one for you. If you want to get better at this craft of doing data science, of doing web development, of being an engineer, whatever that thing is, teach it. and you'll get substantially better way faster than you think. So I know Maggie loves pie charts, so of course I had to put one into my presentation here. So these are the content types we will be covering. This is our content pie. Also, pizza pie reference, low-key, I don't know, anyway. We'll be talking about audio content, written content, and video content here. There is obviously numerous other ways that you could do it. These are just 3 of the main ways, and 3 ways that hopefully after today you'll see why you should do 1, 2, or even all 3 of them. So first up, we have written content. So this is just some highlights. We'll be diving deeper here in a second of my thoughts on written content. It is the easiest to create by far. The most 2 popular platforms right now are going to be medium.com and of course LinkedIn. I'll be showing you both of those places, not that you haven't been to LinkedIn, but how to utilize it a little better maybe. Flat out, it's just too easy to do written content. You literally load up the web browser and you're off, right? I mean, you've already done the project, just typing out what you maybe would have put into a deck, or maybe the high-level insights, just whatever. It's super easy to make written content. Typically for me, it is the longest time investment though. And there's a couple of reasons for that. I've been doing video for a long time, so it's probably where most people, if they're new to it, will find the longest time investment, but it gets pretty template-y pretty quickly. So you can really start banging out videos pretty quickly if you just get started doing that. Whereas with written content, I mean, you got to sit down, you got butt in the seat, 800 to 1200 plus words. All your sentences have to make sense. I mean, if you're talking in an audio or video capacity, you can just like throw out onomatopoeias and like run on sentences, and as long as you're coherent, people will listen. So it's a lot harder when it comes to written content. People can be a lot more judgmental, and we'll get to that here in a bit. Lastly, there's a built-in audience. You probably already have a LinkedIn. You might or might not have a Medium account, but Medium has a tremendous amount of publications and places for you to share the articles that you create. So you could write an article about machine learning. It could get picked up by a machine learning publication, and now you have access to their 300,000 readership that might or might not click on your article. It's a built-in audience that is unlike either of the 2 platforms. Even something like YouTube, where you would be putting a video, clearly there's eyeballs and ears on YouTube every second of every day forever, but no one knows who you are, and no one's willingly going to just share your content. You're just going to be making it into the void for a little bit. We can talk a little bit more about that here in a bit as well. But with something like written content, specifically on LinkedIn, where you personally already have an audience and other people already have one, and Medium, it's a tremendous opportunity. I highly, highly recommend that. Next, we have video content. This can easily be the most daunting type for obvious reasons. You've got to have decent audio, you have to have decent video, lighting is important, the content itself has to not suck. I mean, on and on and on. Like it says there, camera, and lights, and microphone, and script, and editing. I don't like the way I look, I don't like the way I sound. Well, guess what? Like, that's how you look and sound all the time. So like, just gonna put it out there. At the very least, you should get that attention. That might get you that new job that you really want. So like, anyway. I get it. It can be the most daunting. I've actually done and created a resource for y'all around creating video content that we'll cover in a little bit to hopefully ease that learning curve for you. Because of all that difficulty, it is also the least crowded. Almost no one is creating video content in the general sense. Obviously, a ton of video content is created every single day, but really there isn't that much compared to how many people are on the planet, blah, 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 blah. Go look at your LinkedIn newsfeed. You might see a couple of videos, but most of it is written posts or article shares or different things like that. Video there can be a huge play because of how few people actually have the gumption to do it. They actually think they've got something to say, they hit record and they say it, and guess what? It resonates almost every time because no one else is doing it and everyone else just wants to watch someone else who is doing it. And by far, it provides the most personal growth. I've worked with hundreds of people across many different verticals, and video content is always the one that pushes in the furthest, the fastest. You have to be able to consolidate ideas into a time frame that someone will actually want to listen. You know, no one wants to listen to that hour-long data science project as you ramble your way through talking about how to handle overfitting and blah, 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 right? Like you really have to be able to condense your thoughts and your opinion down into a concise manner that they'll want to watch, which is probably important for all types of media. But in doing so, you get great at teaching it. You get really, really good at delivering a message. You get really great at that public speaking aspect. I mean, there's just so many aspects to video content that just explode your personal growth and professional growth. Lastly, we have the audio content. It is far more accessible than you think. We'll talk a little bit more about that in the next section, but like it says there, you've been talking before you could write or walk or do data science. You've been talking for a very long time as part of your life. So it is highly likely that you're going to be just fine when it comes to creating audio content. The question is how. There's some really cool tools that I've laid out for you guys to be able to do that. All of them are for free, which is amazing. You can use just your cell phone, just your laptop. You don't need any additional equipment or anything. Very, very, very cool. And I'm a huge fan of podcasts generally. I listen to a ton of them. I've created a really successful one in a previous career. And so I've got a soft spot for audio content. It is the hardest to grow though. There has been a surge of popularity, but you look at something like YouTube or you look at something like a Medium or LinkedIn, and where your podcast goes is kind of this weird place where someone has to search it out and it's got to have a decent name, and there's a lot of kind of hoops that you need to jump through to be able to make it work. Now, of course, sharing it on your LinkedIn, sharing it in a Medium post, sharing it anywhere, talking about it when you're talking to a potential employer, I mean, anything, right, can obviously grow it, but it is definitely the hardest to grow, no question. And then I have there, allows for the most grace. It's really easy to edit a podcast over a video for sure, right? Because like no one can see you. So if you mess up, you just stop talking. And then you start talking again how you actually wanted to say something, and then you just cut that piece out and you sound like a genius every single time. It's fantastic. So I really enjoy that part about creating audio content. If you were to put together a strategy to do it for every single project, you could easily sit down, record a couple of segments, and have all of them sound like brilliance because you didn't have to do it all in one fell swoop. I'm a huge, huge fan of audio content. So what does this look like? When I thought about the request from Faith for this presentation, my first thought was just to give you all the tools and strategies I use, which would have been great and super helpful. But if you don't have the camera I have, or you don't have the mic I have, or you don't have other things that I might have access to, or maybe you have much better things, and you're like, wow, this guy's a chump. I don't know what's going to happen in that scenario, right? So I really wanted to step back and go, what can I do that will be something that is accessible to everybody? So I thought about this idea of creating a single project. We can all make a data science, a web dev project, something like that. What if I made one project and then I created a different piece of content for that project and tailored it to that style of content, that type of content? So I did exactly that. I did a very brief, basic project on how to detect fake news using NLP. And I didn't just do it from the idea of using NLP. I also, well, we'll dive into how it was different for each one in just a second. But that was my idea. So I created my project, and then I set about to write an article, create a video, and do an audio podcast all about that one single project. And they're all different because each medium is different. So when you get this deck, all of these individual circles here are linked out to those pieces of content. Over on Medium is the article. It went live this morning at 7 a.m. On YouTube, the video went live around noon today. And then over on Anchor, because I wanted to test Anchor, which is the software we'll be talking about regarding podcasting. I've never used it before. So I published it a little early, and I sent a link over to Faith just to see if did it work, right? Like, how is this going to work? So I'm going to back out of the presentation real quick, and we're going to review those pieces of content. And we'll, of course, wait for my laptop to not burn itself to the ground. So right here we have fake news detection using NLP. Is using base level NLP technologies and techniques enough to detect fake news? So we've got an image, and then we start walking through the article. So for the written article, the position I wanted to take was one of this is an old problem, it's a new problem, it's been a problem forever. So what has been done in the past, what is currently being done now to solve it. And I'm a big fan of titles, right? Like nothing new under the sun, right? It's something that's been done for mo data, mo problems. So yeah. So then I start jumping into the actual project itself. I'm sharing the code, images of the data frames. I'm writing, my notes kind of to myself, what my thoughts were when I was going through the project. Chart of text, great. And then we're going into a bit of the exploration of the data and some things that we were able to find insight-wise before we even got to modeling, things that we can recognize as people when it comes to different types of articles or things we're seeing shared around on the web. And that was really important to me to look at it from not just what can all the machine learning algorithms do for us? What can all of this wonderful stuff do for us? What can we just do through some basic exploration and some just looking at some data and charts and things, right? Then we go into a bit of, before we get to everyone's favorite NLP graphic, the word cloud. We'll clean up the data, right? So word cloud's huge component of NLP. People love to create these. Of course, these are fine. I just prefer slightly different looking word clouds. So I created this one for the real news articles that were in the data set, and this one for the fake news articles that were in the data set. And then we get into the modeling, and then we get into the kind of the conclusion, my thoughts around all of this. And then my LinkedIn if they want to connect, and then some previous articles I've written. So that's over on Medium. Then you have a 15-minute video. By the way, I'm not sure if you guys can see this. I'll mute it so it doesn't actually make me audio. That data points with that little robot in the corner, I literally made a logo for a fake video series and a fake podcast just for this lunch and learn. Good times. So in this video, it's weird because I can see like a little picture of myself from Zoom and then I can see myself on this. Anyway, so I made a video talking all about the project itself. When it comes to video, you can really walk through your project. So if you jump like ahead a bit, I'm literally walking them through the notebook, start to finish. Here's my thoughts. Here's where I was going with this. And you can do that with video in a way that you can't with audio. Obviously, look at this chart. It's not going to work in audio, right? And in a written sense, it works, but you don't want to drone on and on and on and on about it because they're there to read an article. Here, they're here to listen to what you have to say, see what you have to present, right? So it's a slightly different medium to be able to do that. So this is actually where I did the most thorough walkthrough of the project itself. And then you have over on Anchor, this is the, I don't know, this is like the back-end page. I don't even know what this is. So there's my one play. Thank you, Faith. Appreciate you. Usually I think my mom for my first listen or like download of anything, but in this case, I know exactly who it was. This is the show we put out over on Anchor. And what's really cool is after publishing it, it took a couple of minutes, not long at all. But now I actually have a podcast called Data Points with my dope logo on Spotify. This is like straight up Spotify podcast. This is not like from my computer and it's like going into my Spotify or whatever. This is legit on Spotify, which is so damn cool. And the reason for that seamless integration is because Spotify bought Anchor when they were doing a bunch of their podcast acquisitions. So the integration is quick and really, really freaking cool. So I highly recommend you use Anchor for that reason. It's dope AF all around. It's very, very, very cool. So those are the three different types of content. So what did I do for audio, right? I can't show the data frame. I can't show the charts. That's difficult to do. So instead, what I talked about there was a little bit about what I was talking about at the beginning and the end of my written article, which is I did this project, here's what the results were. But more than just the results, this isn't a new problem. So what are companies doing? What are platforms like Facebook and Twitter and WhatsApp doing to solve these problems? Can we use NLP to solve these problems? And really just talk more about it from a really high level of just generally speaking, from almost from that 30,000 foot view. Right? And then you can go to the article, which gets you to that 20,000 foot. And then you can go to the video, which is that 10,000 foot. Here's exactly what this project was, kind of thing. So with the audio podcast, it was a very, very, very different thing. And it was the hardest one for this particular thing because I was having to talk about things without a visual representation, and it really got me better at speaking through my thoughts regarding the code, regarding the process, regarding how things worked, and I really, really enjoyed that. And it's honestly, the written articles are right. The audio podcast is like, oh, it's fine, right? It's like, it's okay. The video is pretty good. None of these things are lights out amazing, but they all exist now and they all have my name on them. And if someone searches them out or I share them on LinkedIn, they're gonna tie my name to NLP, data science, the ability to do this type of work, to be a thought leader, to think thoroughly through these types of things. In fact, that was one of the last things I wrote in the article itself, and that was just that the project was fairly straightforward, but the straightforwardness nature of the project can lead to a misguided understanding of the problem. And that was a big thing that I realized in the middle of all of it, because I knocked out the project and I was like, dope, 94% accuracy, let's go, right? Like I was in it, right? I was ready to go. And then I was like, wait, writing my articles and doing my videos and the audio piece, I was like, man, this is, and doing additional research, because you want to do the additional research. You want to have other things you can link out and talk about. I was like, oh man, I feel like there's a different angle here. I feel like there's something else I can talk about here. And that was truly amazing. And that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the personal growth opportunities. And the Richard Feynman quote, right? Like making you better as a data scientist, as a professional, when you do things like this. Because if you just would have done the project and then you would have talked about the project, oh yeah, we brought in some data sets. It was, you know, it was decently balanced and we did a great model for it. And here's some of the exploration we did. You can now talk about some of those higher level concepts, which might be the difference between you getting a role, not getting a role, getting a speaking gig, not getting a speaking gig, just becoming a better professional, right? So really, really cool. And I had a ton of fun with that. So we had one project that, and 3 pieces of content around that project. So any one of us can go and create that thing. My first article I actually wrote on Medium was when we were doing, it was when we were doing a warm-up that Zach had put together for us or something like that. And I was, yeah, it was a really, really cool warm-up. And I actually asked him, I said like, hey, can I write an article about this? And he was like, oh yeah, for sure. So I wrote it, I sent it to him before I published it, just to like make sure it was like, I wasn't sharing any trade secrets or anything like that, but I was getting started on it very, very, very quickly because I knew how important it was for me to be able to generate my own understanding and really, really learn the craft. What about the gear? So the video that will be linked to you for the video about detecting NLP, or detecting fake news using NLP, was actually shot on my iPhone. It wasn't using this fancy camera I have here. It wasn't using my lavalier mic. It wasn't using my podcasting mic. It was just my phone. That was it. That was all I used. And that mattered to me, right? To be able to create this so any one of y'all could go create it, whether you have a really great camera or you just have an iPhone, right? And then the podcast was actually shot using my AirPods, or recorded using my AirPods and the Anchor app on the phone. So they have a free app. You could download your audio there. It sounded a little better on my phone than when I did a second video. We'll talk about it in a second. When I recorded in the browser. So all you needed again was your phone, the free app, and a way to get decent audio. So some piece of headphones, any headphones at all that have a better mic than your phone, and like holding it like this close to your face or whatever, right? And then for the written article, it was just Medium and my laptop. I could have written it in the Medium app, but that sounds just dreadful. So I would not recommend that. Have a laptop, use the laptop. It's the way to go. The software I use to edit both the video and the audio are free. I will teach you how to use all of those. You'll have access to all of those. Medium is free. Obviously, the software I used to do the spell check and grammar check on the article is called Grammarly. They have a free access to that. All of the photos I use, this presentation was made in Canva. I absolutely tried to do everything I could to not use a tool that you yourself do not have access to right now while you're sitting there probably checking Facebook while I'm giving this presentation. I wanted to have everything be as accessible to you as possible. And the reason is because of a story that Stephen King tells sometimes, where when he's doing speaking engagements, back when we could do that in like a public setting, people would inevitably during the Q&A ask, you know, hey, Stephen, like what typewriter do you use? What pencil do you use to write your novels? You're an incredible author. What do you use? It doesn't matter. The pencil doesn't matter. The typewriter doesn't matter. Sitting down, putting your ass in a seat and putting in the work, that's what matters every single time. Hitting record on the video, hitting record for the audio, typing it out, you know, over on Medium for your article. That is all that matters. That's the only way you're going to get better at this craft. Doing more data science projects will make you better at doing data science projects. The pencil doesn't matter, the typewriter doesn't matter. And in this case, the camera and the mic didn't matter. Now, will some of those things make it easier or look a little better or any number of other things? Absolutely. And if you have the budget or you want to talk about some of those things because maybe you have stuff laying around you want to use, hit me up on Slack, send me an email, send me something on LinkedIn, and we can talk one-on-one. It just didn't make a lot of sense for me to go, if your budget's $0, do all of this. And if you have a $50 budget, you know, it doesn't make sense to do it that way. So if you want to have a conversation about it, definitely let me know. But you can just use your phone or your laptop and get real fracking far. Video content and how to make audio content. So in addition to the videos for that single project that is a video and is an audio piece about that project, I also made a video about how to make that video and a video about how to make that audio for y'all as well. So if you click on either of these images, it will take you straight to those videos. And they are, I don't want to back out here, but they're quite long. I think the how to make a video content is about 35 minutes long. It takes you through using DaVinci Resolve 16, which is a free software you can use for Linux, PC, or Mac. It's one of the best editors on the planet. They have a pro version, but their free version is all you would ever need forever. Like upgrading to the pro version would be completely unnecessary for everyone here. I don't use DaVinci Resolve. So I edited the video for y'all, both of them in DaVinci Resolve, so that way I could show you how to use DaVinci Resolve and let you know that you don't have to be a professional to use DaVinci Resolve. And I had never used it before. I didn't even have to download it on my computer. So yeah, that video is there for you. It'll show you how to make really cool basic videos around the content you want to make. Shows you how to edit them, all the things. It is very basic. It's not going to blow your mind. And there's a ton of fabulous resources on YouTube for people who actually use DaVinci Resolve to teach you all the other fun bells and whistles. I don't recommend you go that direction though. Watch this, not because it's me, but because it is literally the bottom. It is the base, right? And if you get that going, then go look at some of that other stuff. Same thing for the how to make audio content video. That one is actually much sillier because I had started recording it 5 different times and it kept not working. Like my camera didn't work, and then like my laptop the audio wasn't going into Anchor for some reason. I think it was because of the browser, and then my Bluetooth wasn't. Anyway, that's a super silly video. It's probably about 15, 16 minutes long, but it walks you through all of the different ways you can use Anchor to create a podcast like today. So highly recommend you go check both of those out. It's like an additional hour's worth of content for y'all that I wouldn't be able to deliver today. So I wanted to get that over there for y'all as well. Almost done. So again, code, create, repeat. Code, create, repeat. This is the most copy you're going to find on any one of my slides ever. Those 2 videos are videos I've done about JavaScript. That dope logo is what I made for y'all for this presentation. The article over there in the bottom left-hand corner is a really cool NLP article I did on sentiment analysis for Amazon reviews. I would recommend you read this as often as you need, but everyone sits and dwells and debates and overthinks and thinks and ponders and asks friends and mentors and thinks and sleeps on it and thinks and debates and ponders again, and then they second guess themselves, they worry, they stress, and then they do nothing. That is everyone I've ever seen try to make content, except for like maybe 50 people I've tried to train and teach to do this. And every single one of the ones that has done it has gone on to create some really amazing stuff, and their work just got better and better and better. So go. You don't need permission from me. You don't need permission from CodeUp. You don't need permission from anyone within the data science or web dev community. Just go and create. I've shown you how to do everything. You have everything you need to be able to do it. Even right now, even if you're new, even if you're just getting started. It's even better if you're just getting started, because then you can say, I'm just getting started, and then no one's going to shout at you because you misspelled something or you didn't quite understand how a model worked. They're just going to say, hey, I don't really know if that's how you meant to say that. Maybe this is how you meant to say it. And then you get better. And again, you're getting more and more involved with the community. Highly recommend you code, create, and then repeat. Here, let's talk. This is like the Q&A section. I'll share a few quick resources for y'all, and then if you've got any questions or anything like that, we can go. Obviously, connect with me in all of those places, in any one of them that makes sense for you. Obviously, over on LinkedIn, GitHub's an easy one. Send me an email if you want to talk about any of the questions that you might have that you don't get to ask today. Medium, it's a great place to go, kind of see what I'm working on at that time. And of course, I'm in Slack, right? So just hit me up over in Slack. So I'm going to back out now. If anyone has any questions or anything like that, now would be the time to ask it. And I've got some additional resources to share with you all.